Hello, welcome again to a new episode of KewCast. I'm John, joined again by my good pal, Eddie.
Good pal.
Good pal. You are a long-term
Not
good
besties?
pal. We're besties.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But we have a good show today, Eddie, talking about some latest news, gear gossip. Got a few paddles of the week this week. Some of them new, most of them very new. One of them we've had for a little bit. In addition to that, we're going to talk about an update I've made on the website, the John Kew website, and now you can look at the KewCOR curve for each paddle and look at the performance across the face of the paddle.
The website is really coming along nicely.
Good.
Looks fantastic.
So we're going to look at a few select paddles and see if they match our reality. We got some deep thoughts this week, Eddie. Deep thoughts with John and Eddie. And then quite a few Q&A. So let's jump in, shall we?
Let's go.
All right. Latest news. I wanted to get your thoughts, Eddie. Have you been watching MLP?
Just some of the drama.
That's what most people tune into MLP
People
for.
yelling at each other, body bagging each other. It's not a very civil sport, is it?
No.
What the heck happened?
I know. Yeah, I just wanted to want to get your thoughts on, like, are you becoming more of a fan of MLP? Do you still like PPA format better? And we'll just kind of chat about that.
I do like the team format aspect. I think it brings out a different energy level, a different chemistry that you don't normally see. So in that respect, I still like MLP. But I don't think the formula is quite hitting the nail on the head for me.
Yeah.
It's still really hard for me to get engaged with a favorite team or anything like that. There's just so many trades. They don't really seem to have that city affiliation that we see with other team sports. So it's not quite there yet. It's still young. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree on all accounts. I thought it was just a me thing because I'm more of an individual sport fan than a team sport fan, even though you can call pickleball pretty much a team sport, even at doubles. But this is particularly like team, MLP is very much a team format. And I struggle to figure out who's on which team and why it matters,
Yep.
And yeah, it's just like every time I tuned in, it was like, it's not fun watching Tyra Black get nearly knocked out with the ball to the face, and all the like egregious body bags. And I get it. It's drama and that's part of it. And there are many things I do like about it. Like I love the bro cam they had on Gabe and Hayden all the time, watching those two interact. And it's just hilarious. You get to know the players a little better. I love watching lesser ranked players really rise to the occasion and you're getting this chemistry you don't see in the PPA. Love all that, but I'm still really having a hard time wanting to turn it on for 6 hours over the weekend. Do you know what I
still
mean?
don't get the point to having them aligned to cities or areas.
Yeah.
It's not like we can go down to Denver and watch the Denver team.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you're right, though. It is young there. Maybe as the years progress, they'll start to become more established and associated with the place. I don't know, but I hear Dallas, when they're in Dallas, they're cheering more for the Dallas team. That's going to be natural. Maybe that'll just kind of grow and you'll start to associate teams with places. Right now, I'm clueless.
Is it me or is this particular iteration of MLP just lasting forever?
Yeah, it's going. How many weeks has it been?
3 weeks.
It seems like longer than 3 weeks. But yeah, if you're a fan of the drama, it's full of drama. And it's like, all the things that are a little bit crazy in PPA are like squared in MLP, if you can call pickleball crazy. But yeah, let us know down in the comments what your preference is. Mine's definitely still PPA, but that's just me.
It also doesn't have the cachet of a professional sport like basketball or football or any of the major sports. Yeah. It's not the thing that professional pickleball players covet the most.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. The big prize is the PPA, triple gold, And the crowds aren't big for MLP. They're bigger for PPA. Pickleball in general, the crowds aren't huge yet. But what would make MLP more interesting is if there was a massive crowd and it was just like these overwhelming crowd noises you get, like you see going on in Asia right now. Yeah. Get these massive spectators.
Just have it in Vietnam. That'll solve all your problems.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. MLP. Go to Asia. MLP. All right. That's all I want to say about that. Got anything else?
No, all good.
Oh, one other thing. I did see Thomas Shimabukuro playing with the Coral Pro, the 6-0 Coral Pro. He was a boomstick player before. I'm not sure how solid his deal was with Selkirk, but yeah, moved on to the Coral Pro. I don't know if he's just trying it out. I didn't get an answer. I sent a message to Dale asking if anything was like official with Tama, but he didn't reply yet. I imagine he's just kind of testing out.
Is he the only top pro playing with a 6-0?
No, there's Jay DeVilliers is also playing
Is he?
with the 6-0. He's been for a while. A couple others, or maybe one other top pro. I can't quite recall all of them right now, but I think Chris and Isaac from Pickleball Studio are keeping a tally on the percentage of pros playing with full foam. And one of the arguments late last year, and particularly early this year, was if full foam is so much better than honeycomb polypropylene, why don't you see pros playing with it? And we're starting to see more and more pros adopt a full foam paddle. I think it's for men's, it's close to like 50-50 right now, if I recall. All right, moving on. So I'm going to tease some website updates. We're going to talk more in detail later in the podcast today about the comparison lab. But I spent the weekend vibe coding again and added some things to the paddle database, created an entirely new raw database. So some of the hardcore data users missed the old spreadsheet format I had up, which has 1,000 columns and everything's listed in there. I thought that was like too overwhelming for most people, but some people still want that, so I added that. It's a little more user-friendly now. There's some better filters up top, and it's not actually, an Excel sheet shared. It's like coded, right? So it looks much better. And on the paddle database, I added spin tiers so you can select by spin tier. Paddle images are now up, so there's little thumbnails, and you can drill into the images and blow them up. I've made them a large enough size and resolution that you can actually kind of look at the grit, for example. And then the big one is the comparison lab. I'm pretty excited about this. So what you can do is go directly to the paddle comparison lab. I'll obviously put a link in the description. Or you can get there from the paddle database, and you drill into the paddle card, and then there's a button there that says compare this paddle to ... You click on that. It brings up the paddle in the paddle lab, comparison lab, and then you have up to 3 options. You can compare 2 or 3 paddles side by side. And in that, there's all kinds of bells and whistles for analytics. There's scaled Z-score radar charts, like the radar charts you're used to seeing in my reviews. And then if you have watched my recent reviews, I switched over to those bullet charts, basically the line graphs or bar charts with the raw Z-scores, and then I have it divided into low, medium, and high. You can flip the card, and it flips from the radar chart back to the bullet chart. And there's also the KewCOR surface map, and then a whole bunch of other metrics, obviously swing weight, twist weight, etc. Right?
I missed the flipping to the bar chart.
Yeah, I even.
How do you get to that?
So if you look at the radar chart, there's a little icon up top that shows a bar chart, and it's pulsating.
Oh, okay.
It's enticing you to press on it. You didn't stay long enough to press on the enticing pulsating
that don't work for me.
When you do that, it flips over. It shows you the bullet chart, and you can flip back. Yes, sir. So it's coming along. I'm happy with it. Love getting feedback from people who have been using it as well. And we're going to talk about the KewCOR in detail in a minute.
So I have a bit of a nitpick, actually more of a question.
Okay.
What order are those paddles in?
Okay, so it's newest first.
Okay.
So the newest paddles that I enter into the database go up top.
Okay.
Now there's up on the right side of the screen, you can change that to alphabetical or price,
I'm trying to find a certain paddle. I'm like, they're in 10 different places.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's good feedback. If I could make it more obvious what the sort is on the front page, for sure.
Or have the default be by manufacturer.
Yeah, when you do that though, it's 1,000 11,624 paddles up at the top. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many in the database and being alphabetical.
AAA, Acme.
Right. All right. Moving on, Eddie. Let's talk about our paddles of the week.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned that you were actually considering playing with the Spartus P1, which is their hybrid shape, for a tournament, which was last weekend. By the way, how'd that go? How was your tournament?
It was a mixed bag.
Okay.
We went 50-50, 2-2 in the round robin.
Okay.
And won the first game of the bracket.
Uh-huh.
And then we ran into the chainsaw of two of our local friends who were actually playing out of their age group for some reason.
Okay.
So Eric and I were in the 50 plus. These guys were 40, mid 40s.
Okay.
So they used their youth and enthusiasm to beat us into submission.
Who were they?
Drew and Tim.
Drew and Tim. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, two good players.
Great players. They won gold eventually.
Yeah.
So didn't feel too bad about losing to the
If
eventual
you're
gold
going to
medalist.
losing to the gold medalists doesn't feel quite as bad.
Yeah. I was like so worried about heat management.
Uh-huh.
Like I spent the whole week like prepping, like got to bring 3 shirts and 3 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of shoes. It ended up being just a beautiful cloudy day. And I spent all that mental energy. I should have been thinking about pickleball.
That's right. Big question. What paddle did you play with?
I played with the Honolulu.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Did it treat you well?
I thought I played pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's, coming in the middle of the pack ain't bad. And, men's 4-5. Mm-hmm. But you were considering playing with the Spartus P1 for a bit, and you talked about, the wide body might be your shape. So reached out to Josh, the owner of Spartus, because I didn't have one yet either. So we got our hands on the Spartus P1 wide body, which is same price as the others. I think it's behind one of those paddles. There we are. $198 after code, so right at $200 after code. If you can read the specs on there.
Yeah,
the
110 swing weight, 7.3 twist weight.
Huge stock. This is,
Yeah, and 8.3 ounces.
So it's a pretty beefy.
8.13 ounces.
8.13 ounces. Yeah, for a wide bodies can usually right around 8 ounces. So it's a little heavier than the normal, but an amazing twist weight stock. And given that it's a wide body, the swing weight is manageable too. Did you feel the need to put on any perimeter weighting on it?
I did not yet try. I haven't had a lot of time with this, to be honest. It just came in a couple of days ago, at least to me. So I haven't had a lot of time, just a couple of games with it. I will probably add some weight to this.
Yeah.
Just to boost up that twist weight even more.
You remind me of the twist weight again?
7.3.
3, yeah. Yeah, I found that 3 grams at 9 and 3 o'clock just made it even better, but it's very playable stock. There's really no reason if you don't want the extra weight, if you're struggling with extra weight on your paddle, to put it on there because it performs exceptional stock. But I do like just a little bit of extra plow through on a wide body. But yeah, I do think this is, so far out of the 2 shape options, this is the star of the show.
Absolutely.
Between the hybrid and the wide body. The wide body is just massively forgiving. I'd put the sweet spot in general for this line of Spartus. Really good, not ultra elite, ultra elite like the boomstick elite, but it feels comparable to most EPP fully floated cores. So the Gen 4 EPP center with the EVA band around it feels very similar in that regard, like the logo and et cetera.
Yeah. This, like the hybrid, it takes some adjustment. I think for me that the power band on this feels a little bit more progressive than linear, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Closer you get to the middle, it gets just hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
And then you get a kind of a tight spot in the middle of full power.
Okay.
Not to say that that's where the sweet spot is. I think the sweet spot is quite wide. It's just not an even linear response, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so in that respect, this does take some adjustment, which is the reason I didn't go to it for the tournament.
Okay.
I felt like I was so just dialed in with the Honolulu, and I knew its kind of quirks and strengths that I didn't have the time to readjust to this paddle or the hybrid version of this.
Yeah. Yeah, but their durable grit spins the ball incredibly well.
Gosh. So good.
And it is absolutely durable. It's tier 1 in my reckoning. And I had a good time playing with it. It's this is of the durable grit paddles in the tier 1 category, this is one of the more controllable ones, and that meaning more all-court leaning than power. Most of the others are in the middle of the power category. So your Honolulu, even the new Coral, 6.0 Coral Pro, it's tier 1, but that's got a little more juice than the original Coral, and I put that kind of in the middle of the power category too. If you're looking for more moderate power and tier 1 durability grip, then I think this is your choice.
You know what I've noticed about all the Tier 1 offerings to date is that they shed ball dust. None of them collect ball dust.
Yeah, it's true. I wonder why. Because you'd think it'd be the opposite, right? Like all of it. Man, now we're talking about lifetime balls here. I don't know if it's going to be the same for Franklin. Have you played? He played in a tournament this weekend.
Yeah, and that was a Yola ball.
Yola, and
Yeah.
still no ball dust.
Well, that wasn't the crystal blue version of the
Okay, gotcha.
of the Honolulu.
Right. Yeah, so I wonder if that is a lifetime thing. That it's just us, because it doesn't get very dusty on other like just standard raw carbon fiber paddles either. With the
I had this out with a ball machine though yesterday, and it had probably 6 different types
Okay.
of balls in there, and
Still no?
there's nothing.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder why that's so. But yeah, I think it's a great option. I probably would prefer playing with this over the hybrid. So
I love this shape.
it's a good looking
Yeah.
shape too. All right. Moving on to the Spartus Spitfire. Now, this one is not out yet. It's coming out in mid-July, sometime in July, maybe early. But this is a new one from Spartus, and it is currently USAP approved, so we can talk about it in that regard. That's an important note, so there's no question whether or not it will be approved. This is another full foam paddle from Spartus. It's what he's calling a modified EPP and EVA foam construction. So they're using various densities of those foams to create what he's calling a unique feel profile. One of the aspects of that feel profile is a deeper, thuddier sound, and that's definitely the case. I did love the sound of this hitting with it. And just got an email from Josh, the owner of Spartus, saying that we are allowed to mention the price starting today. It is going to be $99 after code. So it's
Wow.
so it's going to be a budget paddle. And the hope with this is that it has durable grit. It is designed to have durable grit. It is called PermaGritNano. So the original Spartus P1s, PermaGrit, which we know are Tier 1, and PermaGritNano is this one. Now, this is a different formulation. If you look at under the microscope, the original PermaGrit, it just looks like tons of grit particles
Very
kinda
fine.
stacked on top of each other. It's not a peel ply based. This is peel ply based.
Okay.
And I did do some prototype testing for this paddle for Josh, and the spin durability came in at Tier 3. Now, that being said, after that, he took some tips in the report that I wrote him, and apparently went back to the factory and reformulated it. And he has hopes that this one is more durable. I haven't actually tested the production model yet. It does feel a little bit different. I can tell something did change, but we'll have to test it and make sure.
Is this a production model?
That is a production model.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is very tacky.
Yeah. It's very gritty. Something that I should give you the prototype to feel. The prototype actually gave me it was like fingernails on a chalkboard, just touching the surface. It was that tacky that it almost drove me crazy. Yeah, it's such a weird feel to touch it. It just grabbed your skin and just didn't
Can't
let
even
go.
imagine what that would be.
We'll pull it out later.
Skin grabber.
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah. Oh, you can see in the X-ray. This was sent by Spartus. I think it's just a photo of a screen here, but kind of your classic EPP center and EVA band surrounding. But they do have internal weighting, 3 grams each at 9 and 3 o'clock. And can you read us on one of these? Here's the other one. There's the brand new one. I have the specs on there.
We're at 7.8 ounces, 117.8 swing weight, and 6.14 twist weight.
Yes. So that's a light, elongated paddle with a relatively low swing weight and a relatively high twist weight, which is pretty ideal.
Man, this thing brand new is very,
Gritty.
very gritty.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's get into our perceptions of it, how it plays. I'd like to hear your thoughts first, Eddie.
I really enjoyed this paddle, John. I find it to be very accessible, very forgiving. It's got plenty of power, a big, broad, wide sweet spot. Unlike the Spartus P1, which does take some adjustment, you have to get used to kind of the nature of how power is delivered with that paddle. This one, right out of the box, you just go to town with it, and it's a ton of fun to do so. It's got plenty of spin. I don't know if that spin's going to be durable, but it's there right out of the box. It's really got a nice blend of kind of that, not boomstick hollow, but just just touching into hollow from that kind of center point of your feel wheel. I really like it. It's got really pleasant kind of that dwell time feel.
Yeah. Well said, Eddie. I don't really have anything to say on top of that. I mean, I think your point that it is more accessible than some of the other paddles is spot on. You pick it up, and it gives me a bit of, Inferno vibes. It's got the lower sound, and there's also the issue that it's not a really poppy paddle. There's plenty of firepower. I would probably put it in the middle of the power category, where a lot of the paddles are falling these days, but it doesn't feel uncontrollable to me. It's got a nice big sweet spot, and the pop is more muted, it feels like to me, than some of the other paddles in that same range of firepower. So I think it hits a nice spot there if you're looking for a power paddle. The spin is great, new, and again, we're going to test to see how durable it is. My hope is that it's at least more durable than raw carbon fiber, so something above tier 4. Even if it lands on a tier 3, though, that's still a good price for a more durable grit, and the performance it has is pretty exceptional.
I'm pleasantly surprised. Everybody thinks of the P1 as kind of the flagship product of Spartus. This is, right up there with it in terms of just usability, playability, going out and having fun on the pickleball court.
Yeah, I think it'll be a hit for $100, man. That's a good paddle.
I'll hold on to this one.
Okay. We got two. All right. So moving on to Proton. We talked about, I think we just mentioned last week that they are coming out with Nanotac again. They're going back to their roots.
Very exciting.
Which I'm very excited about. And we got 2 prototypes. They sent prototypes out to every reviewer. So fair game to talk about them. They don't even have a name for these yet. But just feeling the surface, it feels identical to me as the original Nanotac. I don't think they've done anything differently. Maybe they did, but if they did, it doesn't feel any different, all right? These are both full foam paddles, so I think I was postulating last week that maybe they're Gen 3, but they're not. They're both Gen 4. And props to JJ at JJ's Pickleball. He's the one who's really dug into this the most. I think he's pretty close with Charles and Brandt over at Proton. I interviewed Charles. I did end up watching that. It was a good interview. Lots of information there. But according to JJ, because I didn't get this information from Proton, this white bluish am I right there?
Yep.
Is an EPP fully floated with EVA band around it, and it has the Proton logo holes in the center, similar to how the Peacock was, but there's no fiberglass sheet in it anymore.
So what has holes? The core?
The core has holes, yeah. How like Carbon puts holes in the True Foam Genesis and all their paddles, but it's shaped like this Proton.
Oh. But the holes go straight through?
Don't know. Don't know if they're kind of just on the surface or did they go all the way through. And then this one is MPP, this red one. So again, we don't have names for these yet, but we're going to call this paddle 1, the EPP one. They both come in very light for elongated paddles. 7.8 ounces stock for the EPP, paddle 1, with the swing weight of 117.1 and a twist weight of 6.1. And the MPP is even lighter at a 7.77 ounces stock, a twist weight of 6.03, and a swing weight of, what does that say, 114.9?
114.
Okay. So very lightweight suckers. And let's talk about how they feel. Oh, big caveat here and a big disclosure. Neither of these are both prototypes. Neither of them have received certification by either agency. And their goal is to get these dual certified with both UPA-A and USAP.
Good luck.
So we don't know if that's going to happen yet. So we're talking about these. I don't even know the price. I heard also from JJ that, actually it was Charles during his interview, said they're going to be between like $250 and $300. So on the high end of pricing for the current paddle market. Oh, also the shape itself is a new shape for Proton. If you remember, their elongated shape had a shorter, stubbier handle. It came in at like a 5.25 inch handle before on their Peacocks, and this one is a full 5.5 inch handle. So good to see them make the more modern shape.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell me, Eddie? What are your thoughts on these paddles, and then I'll get into mine.
Very excited to play with these. Weirdly, there's a lot more ball dust on the surface of these paddles than I remember there being on the prior Nanotac. So I'm not sure if they've changed their formulation or if the different chemistry of balls is reacting differently. But definitely needed some wiping off after a couple of games, which I don't recall having to do before.
Yeah, the same. I don't know if that's another issue with the lifetime ball or what.
It could be. I spent more time with the version 2. It's definitely the kind of the thonkier, more Inferno-like of the two offerings. But they're actually kind of like both kind of in the same vein. They're both hollow. They're both on the stiff side. And so it's just one is a little bit more extreme than the other. Yeah. That being the V2. I felt in game 1 of these, just playing them stock, that they both had kind of a thin, harsh vibration coming through. I ended up adding what I think a lot of people would consider a lot of weight, like 5 grams on each side. I ended up going with 6 on, I forget which one, maybe the V1. And that opened things up greatly. It was like a whole new paddle. It brought out the power. It brought out more forgiveness. The vibrations that I was feeling were gone. So I think a lot of that harshness is kind of mitigated with additional weight. Yeah. And with that, I was getting more power, more plow through, and really kind of taking that Nanotac surface kind of to its ultimate state, which is kind of where you want it, right? You want that ball sinking into it and kind of getting that grip. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that weight is very necessary on these. I think they are 15 millimeter cores, so they're not 16, which is kind of standard. But right away, I noticed that they hit well, but it's a little less forgiving than I wanted on off-center shots, laterally, side to side. But once you add that weight, it does help. Strangely, I thought I was going to, when I was just tapping them, here's how they sound, by the way. This is V1 EPP core. Kind of a deeper tone. And this is V2, the MPP core. That's the sound I love, donkey and hollow.
For sure.
Thought I would love this one more. I ended up going back and forth, and I definitely prefer the V1 over the V2. I was able to get the V1 where I wanted it to in terms of stability and forgiveness with adding like 7.5 minimal grams of perimeter weight right at 3 and 9 o'clock. And this felt great, but I still couldn't get this one. I need more time with it to figure out if there is a weight setup that I would actually prefer this over V1, but I just felt like this was the less forgiving of the two, surprisingly, because I love me some MPP cores, but it didn't quite manifest that way on these two paddles. Yeah. Did you have a preference between the two?
Honestly, I like them both. For slightly different reasons. The V2 for that kind of Inferno-like feel. But the V1 has great touch, maybe a touch more control, as you kind of alluded to. So I need to play around with them more, really kind of tweak the weight setup, see what we can do with these. Yeah. But I think that, are they planning on coming out with 2 versions, or is it just 2 prototypes that they're going to eventually kind of nail down into one?
Unclear. I don't know if they're doing this, just sending these out to see which ones the reviewers prefer and then coming to market with that one, or they're actually going to do 2 varieties. So we will find out later.
I would like to have seen a plusher, more dense version of this shape. Yeah. These two are kind of like, as I said, like one is kind of like a little brother to the other. I would like to have seen a cousin that's on the denser side, more plush, and just see what a completely different feeling paddle would be like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do have a unique feel profile. I definitely put them and the hollower side of the spectrum, and the softness is right in the middle to me, between stiff and soft. And just something about that rubber face, And the thinness of the paddles is maybe what you're feeling in terms of the stiffness and the weird vibrations. But yeah, like you said, when you do add significant weight to the perimeter, it does change that feel profile for the better, for me at least, and for you it sounds like. The spin on these is elite. You know, you can really, really dip the ball, and you can really do a semi-western closed paddle face and brush up on the ball and not worry about it slipping when it's dry. I've heard that Rafa Hewitt, when he used to play against Proton paddles with Nanotac, if he was sweaty, he would wipe the ball all over his shirt to get sweat on the ball when he was playing against these, because you can't, it just slides off of it, goes into the net every time. So that might be an issue with these. But, you know, one of the things I loved about Proton from its first paddle, which is the Series One Type A, was the Nanotac, and that was actually the first durable grip. You know, it turned out to be true, and even with the durability testing here in the laboratory with the original paddle, I haven't done these yet, but it ended up actually increasing spin after the accelerated wear test, and in a significant way, 12% increase in spin. So
that is nuts.
It went from elite to uber elite, you know, after wear. So we'll see, you know, if it does get approved by both agencies, very cool in its current state, because it does perform well in terms of spin, but they may have to tone it down. Who knows? So
I do agree with you that there is some tweaking to swing path that might be considered for some folks. Mm-hmm. I had some early drives with these paddles that were, for me, on the high side.
Yeah.
And just closing down that face definitely helped a lot.
Yeah. It's a high launch angle on these paddles, because it really grabs the ball and there's no slipping. You know, when you're brushing up on the ball and the ball slips over the paddle a little bit, that's a low launch angle. And sometimes it goes to the net if it slips too much. But this one, it's on and off immediately, you know.
Yep.
And it's spinning hard. So you've got to really kind of close your paddle face a bit. Alrighty.
They look fantastic, though.
Yes, much improved over their old
colorways are just straight up really nice.
For sure. All right, last paddle for paddles of the week is the Aireo Cyclone Hybrid, which we did briefly mention, but this is the UPA-A only. It's a blackout paddle. It's probably behind one of these. Before we get into that,
there we go.
You want to talk about having to adjust your face angle. This is a paddle with a ping pong rubber glued to it, and it's not the same one that we use for the experiment on the Canon, but Eddie and I are creating our weapons for a battle next week, and we're going to go see if spin actually can destroy pickleball. Because we know that we tested these on the Canon. They get upwards of 4,000 RPM with the Canon. And I was getting so much RPM with my arm that it was screwing up the Stalker radar gun. It was going 3446 every time. So I think that's like the cap, and it was going over 3,400 RPM. So yeah, we're going to create 4 of these paddles and play a doubles game next week and then see.
Look at all the ball dust on there, though.
That's weird that, rubber is collecting ball dust. And
you could feel like over those highly concentrated areas, there's slippage.
Yeah.
At least with my hand.
Interesting, yeah. But it's going to be fun.
It will be fun. The challenge will be, the question that we're trying to answer is, will too much spin hurt the game of pickleball?
Yeah.
The problem with this evolution is that there's crazy power that goes with the crazy spin. So we're going to have to figure out how to take the power out of the equation.
Yeah, which is going to be hard, because the reason this gets so much spin is because it has elastic snapback. And for that elastic snapback to be present, it has to have like a soft underside for the ball to dig into, and the surface rubber to act like a rubber band and catch the ball and then spring it back with. And I don't think that's possible with a stiff face. You know what I mean?
Right. So we're going to have to be very careful with our drives, because this thing is a bazooka.
We will put on some protective eyewear for sure.
It also has a swing weight of about 600.
We're going to have tennis elbow and bruises all across our bodies next week.
All right.
All right, so back to the Aireo Cyclone. Again, this is a UPA-A only. It does have very aggressive texture, because UPA-A allows that as long as the spin doesn't exceed 2100 for direct spin testing. Price is the same as their other Cyclones, so $179 after code. Again, just as a reminder for the core construction, it is a Gen 4 full foam MPP center with an EVA border, plus internal weighting at 9 and 3 o'clock, which hugely impacts the twist weight on this. So can you read us the specs on this?
Sure. The static weight is 7.7 ounces, a swing weight of 106.6, and a twist weight of 6.75.
Huge twist weight for such a low static weight and low swing weight. So that is a very ideal proportion ratio between swing weight and twist weight. What are your thoughts on how it felt on the court?
This one's not for me. The face is very tight, very reactive and stiff. And so, I mean, the ball hits it and it's gone. And I think people know I like a little bit more dwell time feeling for my paddles. This has no dwell time. But in that respect, it does have control for the right person. I mean, you put it at the angle you want it, and it's gone, and it's there. So in that respect, I think for the right player looking for a stiff face, a reactive paddle, that this could be a great offering. I don't think the spin is like nuts. I mean, the tackiness of that Spartus Spitfire is more than this. It's more than this.
Yeah.
So if it's there, it's not tactile.
I tested spin with my arm. It was 21 something.
Okay.
So
That sounds
good,
about
but
right.
not elite.
Yeah, that sounds about right. How about you?
How much weight did you put on it?
None.
Okay. That actually really transforms the paddle.
Interesting.
And, yeah. So it's good stock, but I agree, like that field profile, it's just way stiff. And even though it has a large twist weight, it's forgiving, but that stiffness just feels like jarring to me. But I put on 7.5 gram, pickle clips on each side, and boy, it smoothed out the face, gave it a little bit, softness, and made it more hollow even. And actually really enjoyed playing with it after that. So what you end up with after putting 7.5 grams plus on each side, so the Selkirk MOI setup, is something that's still very maneuverable in your hands, but a massive twist weight, well over 7. Yeah. And it hits really well and lots of plow through and forgiveness. I will say that even with the weights, it's not as powerful as the elongated. There's a drop in overall firepower between the original Aireo Cyclone elongated and this hybrid, which I think is probably a good thing. I feel like most players agreed that that original Cyclone was just a little too much. It was super stiff and super poppy. And this one is just a little more mellow, especially after you add the weights. The weights do add some overall firepower because you're getting more from the baseline and more with bigger swings, but it takes away some of that instantaneous pop, at the kitchen. So I enjoyed it with 7.5 grams on each side. The firepower perception was actually the KewCOR scores agreed with that. So the KewCOR of this was 0.405 versus 0.421 for the elongated. So the elongated came in with a higher KewCOR. But yeah, I think it's, if you like a blacked out paddle with pretty aggressive grit and, this matches all the things you like, pretty high powered paddle that's still maneuverable, then it's a good option.
Would you say the power is in the low end of power?
No, I'd put it definitely like in the medium to high part of the power range. But
with the weight.
But toned down the original Cyclone, high end of power. This I'd put in right square in the middle.
It's amazing how weight can just transform a paddle from something harsh and uncomfortable and stiff into something just muted.
Yeah, much
crazy.
Much more muted. All right, that will conclude our paddles of the week.
It's a good week for paddles.
Yeah, it was. Let's jump into our next segment. So we're going to look at one of the new tools on the website. So the Paddle Comparison Lab. And in specific, we're going to look at the KewCOR Curves, which you can search for any 2 paddles up to 3 paddles and compare them side by side. So we each kind of pulled in some paddles. I think we've got the same visuals on our screens here, our respective screens. So the first one, I think I pulled this in. I was curious. Basically, we're wanting to know, do the KewCOR scores match the reality of how we feel about a paddle? Now, what KewCOR is measuring is the paddle ball collision, the efficiency of the paddle ball collision across this vertical axis on a paddle from typically 3 inches from the top, measuring from the top, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. Sometimes we'll go up to 7 inches down here if we see an interesting trend, but normally it's 3 to 6 inches. So you'll see like if you get a high point at 4 inches or at 5 inches and then it drops dramatically lower, then presumably that would be felt at like a hot spot on the paddle, right? So ideally what you want is a pretty smooth curve so the whole face is similarly reactive versus a really high highs and low lows. And again, this is not overall a sweet spot map, but yes, it's a part of the sweet spot, this longitudinal axis of the paddle, but it doesn't take into account side-to-side sweet spot, right? There's no kind of twist weight, which is a big part of sweet spot. So this is just one facet of the sweet spot, and it's mapping the performance across one line on the paddle. All right. So, yeah, I wanted to check out like a Gen 1 paddle and compare it to like a full foam paddle. So we've got, that's actually one to the right of that is exactly the paddle. Yeah, you can even see the KewCOR line on there. Yep. So we tested this. This is the PaddleTech Bantam TKO CX. This is the Christian Alshon signature paddle. And everybody who's played with the PaddleTech knows they're very powerful, but they're pretty tight sweet spot. You know, there's a dead spot up top, you know, right above that line.
Yeah.
And it hits hard right in the sweet spot, and then it drops off pretty quickly. And that's exactly what this KewCOR is showing. It goes from, what is that, 0.37 way up to, what is this, 0.42, which is close to the legal boundary, right? And then big drop off at 6, and we took that one down to 7 just to make sure. And sure enough, it keeps dropping. So,
yeah. In all the PaddleTechs of this generation, we saw that kind of above these top 2 inches. There's barely anything up there.
Yeah,
as far as
and apparently like 3 inches. If we would have taken it up to 2 inches, it would have been super, super low. And if you can look, compared to the Honolulu J6CR Blue Grip right next to it, that is a really pretty curve there. So there's
nice
almost,
and flat.
yeah, nice and flat. There's almost no variability. And the performance spot where it gets the highest KewCOR is right at the 4-inch location, which is,
it's perfect.
you know, ideally where you want to be hitting the paddle. Is where it feels the best. That vibration antinode there prevents the vibrations from going down into your hand. So it feels the best in that regard. So if you're hitting it there, you want it to perform well. So that's good.
Love to see that.
All right. Let's look at the next comparison here. What do we have pulled in here?
The Gearbox Pro Power.
Yeah. So why don't you give us your impression? So I pulled in the Pro Power Elongated, which is known for a really tight sweet spot and a really big hot spot. And then compared it to the Gearbox, a GBX Power Elongated, which is one of their newer iterations of this, and to me performs a lot better.
It absolutely does. I'm surprised to see a dip there in what would traditionally be the kind of the hottest spot of the paddle at 4 inches. What do you think's going on there?
Don't know. It could be just margin of error. You know, we're averaging 6 to 10 shots at each inch location, and you know, if one of them is an outlier in that grouping, it might raise or lower it a bit. But overall, that's a nice flat curve for the GBX Power Elongated, and just what you would think for the Pro Power Elongated, a very hot spot at 3.5 to 4, and a big drop off outside of that.
Amazing how the data is just backing up what we all kind of feel when we play with these paddles. We know that there's a quarter size sweet spot, huge drop off if you go south of that, and there you go.
Yeah. Next one, Diadem Vice, and then Owl CXE. Just curious about these two. I haven't played enough with both of them to really know, but interesting that the Diadem Vice really plummets down lower on the face of the paddle. This is the full foam EVA, like illegal, but it's not USAP or UPA-A approved. So it's got massive power up top on the paddle, and it drops off pretty dramatically.
Can I tell you, we got smoked by a team. One of the guys was playing with the Owl.
No.
And he played with it just about as well as you can. I mean, was just ripping spins. But it was the sound profile of it that kind of disturbed me the most. To the point where it was like, I didn't know what was coming or how fast it was coming because there was no sound.
Yeah.
Thing's got a silencer on it, and I need that for being able to anticipate where to put my paddle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, if there's any paddle that's going to disrupt the game of pickleball out there, it's that one, right? With the sound profile and the crazy spin it gets. But yeah, the KewCOR profile on that looks pretty good. Pretty flat curve. Next one, 11624 Ultra Power 2 compared to the Vapor Power 2. I thought this was an interesting comparison because they're both the same build and both are known to have big sweet spots, and they're both hybrid. But the Ultra is the squared off hybrid, and the Vapor 2 has a bit of an arrow curve on top and a taper. So I don't think there's much to be learned from these. Both look really great, but the Ultra looks exceptionally great. Super, super flat curve. And there's a bit more of a high and low on the Vapor Power 2.
Well, I think it confirms what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, and that is just the very subtle shape change of the Ultra is just making a kind of an ideal paddle.
Yeah.
In terms of sweet spot.
Just flattens everything out and broadens that sweet spot where it needs to be. And I think that's my new main, Eddie. Like
is it?
I'm playing like 50-50. I'm probably playing more with the Ultra than Honolulu. But they're both so similar. But I just keep reaching for that Ultra in my bag. Yeah. Look at me just skipping around on my. Normally I'm like a 4 to 6 month guy with my mains, and I've been.
You're like me.
That's right.
4 to 6 hours.
All right, Spartus P1 Hybrid versus the Enhance MPP Turbo. Boy, that Enhance, you can't get much flatter than that. Holy cow, that is flatlining.
That's one of the things I love about it. It's just very consistent, very predictable.
Uh-huh. And there's a little bit of what you're talking about as a kind of a hot spot on the P1. Not necessarily a hot spot. Not anything compared to like the Gearbox Pro Power Elongated. But there's a peak over at 3 and 4 inches and then a notable dip there at 5 inches. And then it comes back oddly at 6.
That does not surprise me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just one of the things about the Spartus paddles, even in the generation prior, that was an adjustment.
Okay. Interesting. So the next I wanted to compare, so you can compare up to 3 paddles with this app, and I wanted to compare like the same paddle in 3 different shapes, so elongated, hybrid, and standard. So pick the Bread and Butter Loco, and you can see the elongated peaks at 4, but otherwise pretty curved. Interesting that the hybrid has a pretty big peak and valley outside of 4 comparatively. Nothing crazy, not poor performance crazy, but definitely higher than the elongated and way higher than the standard. Standard is a nice, super flat curve.
My favorite.
Yeah. Which kind of matches reality. Sometimes the hybrids are poppier. I do notice that the Bread and Butter Hybrid for sure is way poppier than the other 2. Like I feel like when I hit it, sometimes I'm like, what in the world? I was supposed to drop that in the kitchen and I gave him an overhead instead. You know what I mean? So it takes some getting used to. Not that you can't dial it in, but yeah, that does kind of match my perception of the Loco shapes. And next is the same lineup between elongated, hybrid, and wide body for the F&B run out. Remember that paddle?
I do.
Yeah, I thought this one was interesting too because it is a Gen 1 paddle, even though I don't know if they're technically calling it Gen 1 paddle. It's made in the USA. It's cold pressed, so it's not thermoformed, but I think there is definitely a band of EVA around it. But it's still, there's Gen 1 components to it, and I did feel like it played like a Gen 1 paddle. Kind of, there's definitely a noticeable drop-off at the top of the paddle, which is very much apparent on all 3 of these curves. But interesting that it's showing the same tendencies as the Bread and Butter Loco, where the elongated is a little bit flatter than the hybrid shape, and the hybrid has a bit more of a hot spot. And then it's a nice smoother curve for the wide body. Yep. Yeah, interesting. All right, last one here, Eddie. We got these are not different shapes of the same paddle, but they're all the same brand. I just wanted to compare the Luz Inferno versus the Inferno Frozen versus the Tornado. Those 3 paddles. So Inferno, excellent curve, as we would expect. You know what it looks a lot like?
Like the Turbo.
MPP Turbo. And they play almost exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah. So that is a great looking curve. This is a unique curve for the Inferno Frozen. It's like an upside down. That's a U, right? It's a completely inverse of what we would typically expect. So you got kind of a peak there at 3 inches, and it drops at 4, and then steadily rises all the way up to 7, down to 7 inches. Interesting. And then in a tornado, relatively flat, but the peak there is at 5 inches instead of 4. And with the tornado, I think it was more of a feel preference thing. I just didn't connect with the tornado as much as the Inferno, but I did feel like maybe it was a little bit more difficult for me to map onto in terms of where the performance spot was.
John, these curves are fantastic.
Yeah.
I love them. And it explains a lot about kind of my reasoning around paddle selection. Somebody just asked me today, like, oh, you like wide bodies, don't you? I'm like, well, not really. What I like is predictability. What I like is forgiveness, stability. And so these kind of point me into that direction as far as those characteristics. It explains a lot when I look at the Honolulu curve, when I look at the MPP Turbo curve, different shaped paddles, but the consistency top to bottom is remarkable.
Yeah. Now we just need to figure out a way to do consistency side to side.
Do it.
Yeah.
By next week.
And by the way, there's like over 150 paddles with this data logged in the database, so you can really get in and spend hours looking at KewCOR curves if that is your thing. And it's just constantly growing. So there we go. That was a lot of fun actually to program in Claude. Spend some time on that. I put a little animation on it. So
what about just one axis side to side at the vertical sweet spot?
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, so like wherever the performance location is, do a horizontal axis there. That'd be cool. Yeah, I still got to work out that methodology because then you're dealing the benefit for shooting along the center axis of the paddle at the cannon is that it's not twisting on you. But what happens when it twists is then you have to standardize the grip for sure. The grip becomes very important because we know shooting the cannon, the center line, you can just prop up the paddle and it's getting you the same results as whether it's clamped swinging out or clamped hard. But as soon as you change the grip strength on a paddle and shoot it off center laterally, then there's going to be more twisting with less grip strength and less twisting. So I got to figure out
where would the center of percussion be on most paddles? Probably in a different location
than what?
Than your
peak output. They're typically the center of percussion is like 4 to 5 inches, right?
Okay.
So that's where it feels best to hit the paddle, even if the hot spot is elsewhere. So,
well, you've got some work to do. By next week.
Got some work to do. I'll just stay up every night.
Sure.
From here to eternity. All right, we're bringing it back, Eddie, but we're changing the name. We're going with Deep Thoughts from John and Eddie.
I think that's been used.
I've heard that somewhere before. So, I've actually been seeing a sports psychologist. This is just part of my journey. My goal isn't to be like a pro pickleball player, but I wanted to kind of explore, why I wasn't playing to my potential under stress, right? And tournaments and even like when it matters and more competitive rec play situations. And I'm like, you know what? This will be fun to kind of talk about on a podcast, just another facet of this pickleball journey we're all on. And I'm sure it's relevant to a lot of people. Maybe I'll talk about it in more depth, specifically about the mental game. But yeah, I've recognized that that's 50% of my performance right there. Yes, it's really important to drill and get your skills down and practice. But the other half is like, if you're not performing mentally well on the court, you're just going to suffer horribly. It's a very mental sport, similar to tennis and golf, right? So my therapist we were chatting today and about various things, and he brought up this quote from Theodore Roosevelt, and I thought it was very nice to talk about in the context of performance on a pickleball court. I think it might strike a chord with many of our listeners. So let me get this queued up here. So this is a 1910 quote, by the way. This is the speech he gave in Paris, France, and makes me long for the days when this is like obviously before. You can't chat GPT this stuff, man. He's writing this with like pen and ink, like a quill, So Teddy wrote, this is kind of a long one, but it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at their worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So I thought it was just kind of a cool way to express, like, if you don't try, you're never going to achieve anything. You know what I mean? So don't shy away from uncomfortable situations, right? And we can all kind of translate that to the pickleball court where, you know, like myself included, many of us want to improve, but you might be a little scared by it looking foolish when you're trying to make that improvement. So you're kind of locked into a safe game, right? Or even just making stupid error mistakes, trying to be too aggressive, you know, because you get frustrated. But it really resonated with me that you've got to just give up the ego and not be afraid to really just do the work, and you're going to look foolish, you know. It's just part of the journey. So I think all of us could kind of learn from that. Yeah. I got more. You want to hear more?
More pithy quotes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, not more quotes, but just more on this specific topic. So, I mean, if you think about it, like each skill we develop in pickleball goes through a really ugly phase.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Like I remember recognizing that I needed a third shot drop after the first 6 months of playing, and I was just banging every shot, and I'm like, okay, this isn't working if I want to progress. So, and I brought out the ball cannon, not ball cannon. I brought out the ball machine, and I would literally like log 1,000 third shot drops over and over again on every session. And my third shot drop still kind of sucks, but it just kind of shows you that you really got to put in the effort. And it sucks. What really sucks about it is getting on the court after you've drilled it a million times, and you try to third shot drop it, and you give people an overhead to just smash on you. It's like disincentivizes all the hard work you done, and it's so frustrating. But that's just part of every sport, and I feel like pickleball in particular is that when you look stupid playing pickleball, you look really, really stupid, you know? So you just kind of got to get over that ego part of it.
But it's that curve, right? It doesn't just go up and up and up and up. You got to look stupid for a while in order to continue to see progression. Right. Otherwise, if you want to avoid stupidity, you're just going to cap out.
Plateau and just be mediocre, right?
Right.
Which, you know, not all of us are in this to like be the best player in the world, or recognizing we won't, or even be super competitive. Maybe your goal is just to have fun, play and have fun, which is totally cool. But this is just me, and I'm sure there are a lot of people like me who want to see improvement, you know, and you hit roadblocks and obstacles, and sometimes it's not as fun as you hoped it would be because, you know, you're in your head. But yeah, I'd say that, you know, the biggest obstacle to improvement in any sport, and pickleball in particular, is ego. So here's an example. So if you had the opportunity to play a rec game against Ben Johns, who was with a very weak partner, would you rather, number one, win the game by completely icing out Ben and targeting his weaker partner, or lose in a very very dramatic fashion by hitting every ball to Ben, right? Now, you're going to learn so much about what makes Ben amazing if you actually hit the ball to him, right? But I guarantee you, the majority of people in that situation would try to ice out Ben. Even in a rec game, that doesn't matter, you know? Like, they would prefer it if they won by Ben never gets to hit the ball, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so just a little lesson here.
I have to get used to looking stupid, I guess.
So get into the arena, whether that's the pickleball court or many other things in life. You know what this reminds me of, Eddie, is I used to read a lot about like Stoic philosophy, and there's a modern philosopher who incorporates Stoicism into his kind of everyday life. Oh God, I forget his name. It's been years since I read his books, but one of his principles is what he calls like the butterfly effect. And it's not the butterfly effect where one action creates a chain reaction, but his butterfly effect is he wants to consistently do things throughout his life that gives him butterflies in his stomach, that makes him a little bit nervous, you know? And nothing like stupid, like jumping off a cliff without a parachute, but doing things that just slightly outside of his comfort zone that makes him feel a little bit nervous, because that that just trains your body to kind of cope with some things, right? And continually improve, right? Instead of just being comfortable in your own little comfortable spot. So,
unfortunately, that guy died at a very early age of chronic indigestion and diarrhea. But hey,
you know what? He lived a vibrant life.
Exactly.
Eddie, do you have a deep thought for us this week?
I do, John. In front of you in your notes, and we'll put it on screen, there's a picture of an airplane with a bunch of red dots on it.
I actually don't have the picture, but I will look at yours.
There you go.
Okay.
So there you go. So during World War II, the Allies studied the damage of their airplanes coming back from combat. And their study resulted in something similar to this dotted illustration. So tons of riddled bullet holes in this representative sample of airplanes coming back from war.
Yep.
So as an airplane designer, someone who's in charge of reinforcing aircraft, what do you make of this? What would you do?
Well, if you're listening and not viewing, what the diagram shows is just a ton of bullet holes around the wings and then the tail wings.
Yep.
Right? And then pretty much nothing along the nose or the body. So clearly, like the obvious takeaway would be to like reinforce the wings of the.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what the analysis was. And you know, the Allies decided that they should reinforce those areas of the airplane, showing the densest clusters of those red dots. But a statistician by the name of Abraham Wald did not agree. He suggested that the airplanes should be reinforced everywhere else, because the sample size, the data coming back, was from planes that had survived combat.
I love it. Yeah.
Not the planes that were shot down.
Lateral thinking.
That was missing data, obviously.
Right.
And so, as an airplane designer, you need that information. You need the complete picture of data before you can make a decision about what to do, in this case, about aircraft. This is called survivorship bias or winner's bias in the field of business or sports or manufacturing or anything else. I found this completely fascinating, and there's actually many parallels to pickleball, one of which is if you look at just the people that are winning every tournament and decide to do what they do, well, that's fine, but you're missing out on all the competitive players out there that are taking these people to 5 games and not looking at their strategies and what they did to get to the finals or whatever it might be.
True. And you know, probably the trend we're seeing, when I first started going to tournaments, I would remember I played in the 3-5 division, and there were champions in that 3-5 division. And I went back 2 years later in the 4-0 division, and the same team was playing in the 3-5 division, and they got gold again. And they're that team that is like, they're doing their strategy, they're happy, which is fine, right? But then there's the other mindset of like, I want to improve and push myself.
So I would say if you're really apt to be the best player you can be, is look at all the players out there. What are winners doing to win? What are losers doing to lose, but also what are they doing to be successful?
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
You know what this actually reminds me directly of is my background in archaeology. In prehistoric times, so even before, like when people were hunters and gatherers and not farmers, because when they were farmers, they settled into villages and things changed. But when people were actual hunters and gatherers, they're very mobile. And what we see with human burials in that age is almost everybody has broken bones, like a bunch of them. It was a hard life, you know. And often they were killed by other humans, right? You see arrowheads and stuff. But the bones that were broken were typically arms. Sometimes they were skulls, but almost never was there a broken leg. The reason is when you were a mobile hunter-gatherer and you fell and had a massive broken leg, you were left for dead because you can't.
You're
can't
not gathering
move.
anymore.
You're not gathering
outside
anymore.
of a 3-foot circle.
Right. And if you're 20 miles from your base camp, you're probably not going to get carried back. So they just kind of left those people. So they're erased from the archaeological record because you don't find like isolated like they got eaten by wolves and stuff. So they're not buried and preserved. So there's a missing element in the archaeological record of broken legs.
Exactly the situation.
Yeah, that's right.
Another scenario comes to mind, especially in our field, John, and that is what are manufacturers doing when they are looking to design the next new product or what have you. They may look at the top-selling paddles, let's say it's the Boomstick and the Yola, and think, well, that's clearly a model that works. Let's do that.
You're right. That's a good point.
When there's tons of paddles out there, maybe they're not the winners in the top sales category, but they've got some amazing technology that can be utilized.
Flying under the radar, only to become the next big thing in
Boom.
3 more months.
You got it.
All right, Eddie, should we move on to Q&A?
Yeah, first one here from Scott Harrison, 18. Question for the pod, does adding perimeter weighting, we talked about this, change the data for the new feel wheel values?
Absolutely. And by the way, feel wheel is coming to the website. Yes. Initially, it's going to be subjective placement of the paddles, and then eventually it'll be objective numbers. But yes, adding perimeter weighting absolutely changes the feel of a paddle and the sound of a paddle. I'll give you an example. So I've been playing with the Ultra, so I didn't want to use the one I've been playing with because it's broken in a little bit. It naturally gives a deeper tone. But these two are brand new, and they sound and feel exactly the same. So here is the teal one, kind of. All right. See if you can tell the difference between that. I'm going to switch to the lilac one.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear any difference?
A little bit.
Which one's higher?
That one.
The teal one's higher? A little bit, yeah. All right. I'm going to so the teal one's a little bit higher in pitch than the blue one. I'm not the right guy to be talking about colors here. So I'm going to put weight on the green one. These are Selkirk MOI weights, 7.5 grams each. Put them at roughly 9 and 3 o'clock. Now we're going to do the bounce test again. So starting with the blue one, which was originally the lower tone, and then to the green one.
Oh, yeah. It's leapfrogged.
Yeah, it's leapfrogged into the deeper category. So adding weight to the perimeter deepens the tone of your paddle. It also makes it more hollow. So, that's the consideration. If you have a feel preference that's not hollow on the feel wheel, then consider that if you're buying a paddle that needs perimeter weighting. Because if it starts at the dense side but close to the hollow side, and you need to add a bunch of perimeter weighting, then it's going to end up on that hollow side. So just an FYI, I love the fact that adding weight makes it sound deeper because I love that deeper sound, and it makes it hollower because I love the hollow feel, right? And but it absolutely moves it. If you're looking at the feel wheel, the x-axis is that dense versus hollow. It moves it right towards the hollow side when you're adding weight. Yeah, and to me, it's soft. The stiff hollow is a little trickier with weight. I don't think it's the same on every paddle. It's not directly the same. Most of the time, I'd say it makes it a little bit softer, but not always the case. I think sometimes it moves it a little stiffer, depending on the paddle.
But your feel wheel results will all be stock values.
Yes. So if you're looking at the feel wheel when they're up, it's all going to be stock, right?
I think an important takeaway, John, is that you have to look at these things holistically along with the information that's on those spider or radar charts, swing weight and the like.
Right.
Because, you can add weight to your heart's content, but it's also going to have impacts elsewhere in terms of swingability, in terms of overall weight. So all of it needs to be taken into consideration. You can't just throw weight on something and expect miraculous results without some trade-off.
Yep. You have to do it intelligently and look at considering all the other metrics of the paddle.
Okay.
Like that question.
Yeah, this one from Carry Out Cole. We touched on this, I think, last week, John, but maybe you can go into a little bit more detail today. Can you talk about what putting weight in the handle or end cap actually does? I've been told it only changes the balance point, but others have said it affects the twist weight or swing weight. What does your data point to?
Yeah. The first friend was right. It actually only affects the balance point.
You only need one friend is my takeaway.
Right.
That one.
Now, that being said, typically the swing weight will go up 1 point when you put a slice cap on or a weighted end cap. My theory behind that is not that the swing weight of the paddle is actually changing, is that the slice cap or the cap coin is making the paddle a little bit longer. You know what I mean? And when a paddle's a little bit longer, it's going to add about just a tiny bit longer. We're talking millimeters. It's going to add a little bit of swing weight, and that manifests as a higher swing weight paddle. But in reality, if your grip isn't changing, you're not going to feel any difference in the swing weight of the paddle by adding weight below your hand. It also doesn't affect the twist weight because it's right on the center axis of the paddle. So twist weight is how heavy is it side to side as it's twisting. And if you eventually, I'm sure if you put enough weight on the center of it, you'd probably get one or two increase of 1 or 2 twist weight points. But conceivably, for our purposes, it's not affecting twist weight at all.
So just a balance point.
Just a balance point, but it also affects vibration nodes. Yes.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. That can dramatically affect the feel of the paddle for the better or for the worse, right? Depending on your preferences and where you hold the handle, because there are vibration nodes and antinodes on the paddle, and you want to hit the ball on the antinode so it's not sending vibrations into your hand for the most part. The putting weight anywhere on the paddle can kind of manipulate that. Yeah.
And just so people can get a visual, we use a machine called the Graffiti to capture swing weight. And it has a bracket that holds the paddle, but the very base of the handle sits flush against kind of the cradle for the Graffiti. So you're right. Having that come off of that by a millimeter even is going to change that swing weight calculation.
Exactly.
All right, John, one more. This from Jack's Crash. Me and a few friends are skateboarders, like you, and got into pickleball with other friends that play normal sports. And the skateboarder friends all got way better than the others. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm biased because lifelong skateboarder. I don't hit the balls anymore, but I ride the longboards and the electric board. But if you remember back when I was like predicting that Tama Shimabukuro would become a sensation, I was like, this kid was like a pro skateboarder, and the kind of footwork it takes to be a pro skateboarder or a really good skateboarder is like crazy. Like you've got to have foot awareness. You're catching the board, flipping around with your feet while you're in the air, and and if you watch elite skateboarders, their awareness of where their feet are is in relation to the board is outrageous. So there's absolutely a footwork competitive part of this, but there's more to it than just footwork, right? I think a well-rounded background that would be good for pickleball would include some kind of stick ball sport, baseball, even soccer, anything with the ball where you're practicing hand-eye coordination for sure. Because skateboarding, yes, your hands come into it for balance and stuff, but it's less hands and more lower body for sure.
I did a little bit of light research in anticipation of this question. Of course, there's tons of former tennis players on the pro circuit for pickleball. But there's a couple who were involved in other sports, either growing up or in college or whatever. One being ALW.
Soccer, right?
Soccer. Jay DeVilliers.
Is this tennis?
Also soccer.
Okay, soccer.
Dylan Frazier, Hunter Johnson, and Tyson McGuffin, the three of them, baseball.
Baseball, okay. Okay, interesting.
And so there's some theory around just like moving ball, hand-eye coordination, tracking ball flight, all of those concepts I think come into play.
Yeah, for sure. Well, soccer I feel like gives you a similar skill set as skateboarding, right? The elite footwork, which is hugely important in pickleball.
Yeah.
And there's an added element of hand-eye, not so much hand-eye coordination with soccer, but just so I think the skill set you're developing as a skateboarder and a soccer player are very similar, which is great.
But in all of those sports, there is the kind of the generation of power, and achieving that power through kind of rotational movements of your trunk.
Yeah.
At kind of that whipping action that we see in pickleball. So that's got to play a factor, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You were a former tennis player, right?
Yeah.
I never played tennis a day in my life.
Yeah, you don't have a racket sports background, do you?
I play a little bit of racquetball, but it's a different kind of there's really not much topspin in racquetball.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of side spin and just flat hits. Yeah,
angles.
For sure. Yeah, angles.
For sure.
Which is crazy because you have a great topspin drive.
YouTube.
I don't know where you developed it, though. Just in pickleball. It can happen. That's cool. I got one more, Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
This one from Kristen Scripps. Eddie, that shirt was redonkulously great.
I agree.
You got a lot of good compliments. Last time Eddie came for our last podcast, dressed in a collared shirt, which was pickleball themed. It had paddles all over it.
Birthday present.
Oh, okay. From who?
The family.
Family member.
Yep.
Excellent.
But we were shopping at the outlets, and there was I think it was a Johnston and Murphy store, and they had one of those. I'm like, that is so awesome, that shirt. And we kind of left the store, but they ended up buying it outside of that.
Nice. It was a sharp shirt. I would get one of those. Before we sign off today, I have a miscellaneous anecdote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What have you been listening to music-wise lately? Any good albums? Are you going back to your old stuff? What's really hitting with you right now?
Music-wise, not a whole heck of a lot's changed.
Yeah? Okay, you're still on your.
Still like.
What does Eddie listen to on his drive? When
classic poppy rock from the 70s and 80s, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, what got me thinking is Dave Grohl's daughter, Violet Grohl, put out a new album, and it's pretty fantastic. Like, you can tell there's definitely some grunge influence, but it's way its own thing. She's only 20 years old, and I'm just like, dang, like every song on this album is fantastic. So I was just listening to a new album, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder what Eddie's listening to lately. I
do have some hope that this youngest generation is going to rediscover actual music.
Yeah. We're such boomers.
Exactly.
But if Violet Grohl is any indication, then yes, there's very good music on the way. But yeah, it always impresses me. Music is that way. Like, you can be a phenomenal musician and create this amazing music and be so young without life experience. She's only 20. Obviously, it runs in the family, and Dave Grohl is a phenomenal musician. But for her to put out something that's it's just really good. It really impressed me. So if you haven't listened to her album, go check it out.
Wise words, John. Thank you.
All right, Eddie. Well, have a good one. I will see you next week.
Sounds good.